Oh yeah, our new black TriStars.
Yeah.
Because we're apparently just stealing everything from Universal Century now. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with episode 41 of Gundam Seed Destiny.
39 and 40. But today, well, we're going to be talking about those episodes. Today's episode is 41, sorry.
Yes, that's what I was saying, yes. I think first off, of course, we always do the board. I think I've been doing a little more lax about the board changelog stuff. Because all I have written down here is that I connected the Sirens to Gibral, and I changed the green line from Yuna to Kigali to a red. I kept thinking to myself that it was a big old change I could do to the board to do it in the Infinite Rivus way, but we're like 8 episodes from the end. It's like, is there a point to that anymore? Just live with this until whatever.
Oh, we are rushing to the end. It feels like there should be like 10 or 15 episodes, but no, we're rushing in.
No, it doesn't. It feels like it should be like 2. It feels like these should be the last 2 episodes. Like, I don't... What they're going to do is, oh, here's the obvious way that should have ended. Oh, but the villain has one other plan, or they're going to escape to next place, you know?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm taking it you got no commentary on the board then, so that is for the viewers
really.
in the links afterwards. All right, well...
All my comments are notes related, so...
Yeah. All right, well, that leads us into the notes then, so you have more, so you go first.
Okay, starting with episode or phase 39, Kira of the Skies. It took them, the Archangel and Lacus, how many episodes to show us that Lacus and her crew were actually investigating stuff instead of watching the news all day? We talked about that in the show, but it's just the first thing that I was like, oh, now we get to see a scene of somebody going somewhere to do a thing, you know?
Right, as per the previous comment that we got, that Lacus isn't sitting on her hands. Although she is.
Yeah.
Right.
So
well,
there's that.
My first note, I'm taking the L4 in Mendel Colony's description to mean it's in Lagrange point 4, so it's ahead of the Earth in its orbit. Oddly, Armory 1 is also labeled as L4.
I mean, there's plenty of space in space, so I guess...
Well, yeah, but we very specifically see that Armory 1 is in plants.
Yeah.
Which indicates that the plants are in L4. So Mendel is right next to the plants.
That I didn't get about something I should have gotten from the name, which I will mention later. I was like, Mendel? Wait a minute. You know, but... To my next point then. Again, the narrative doesn't tell us what Durandal has done that is so wrong outside of creating a fake Lacus. But the images that the real Lacus brings up imply that there is a connection between Durandal and the Break the World incident. If so, and I will admit that it's a big if, as of right now, then Durandal is guilty of mass murder, if not attempted genocide of all humanity on Earth. The question is, where is Lacus getting this information? Because he talks about, oh, I have my suspicions. I think I know what he's planning, but I'm not really sure. It's like, okay, do you know or you don't know? What do you got? Because it shows a bio of Durandal on screen, and then redact, you know, classified in the face of one of the attackers, and you know, over the station, which is, and pictures of the retro rocket things like the.
Oh, I mean, I combine my third note with this one. Then, I'll skip over my 2-sentence one. Lacus's reasoning for why Durandal would want to take out Orb doesn't make much sense. That they are powerful and have ideals? She is either talking about Azumi's ideals, which are not representative of the ruling body of the country when she says it, as the Sirens have not been reflective of Azumi's policies of not interfering with other countries or acting out militarily. If they did, then Durandal also wouldn't need to worry about Orb, as it would effectively be isolationist in regards to the rest of the world's problems. If she's talking about the ideals of the Sirens, then weird flex? Either way, the connective tissue of her statement to the current situation is just about as strong as blaming the butler for the murder because you have a gut feeling.
Yeah. Again, at episode 39, going to what last 10 episodes, we have so little. I'm sure they're going to show us in episodes like, oh, remember that image and that image and that image? Yeah, that's what it connects.
Again,
But
sure, it's her thing. Again, she says because
yeah,
we have ideals and we're strong. It's like she kind of just said because we're the heroes and he's the bad guy. It's like,
yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess to my next note then. I found it interesting how Ray and Durandal's narration fits into each other as if they were both reading from the same page. Because Ray starts talking and then cuts to Durandal and then cuts back to Ray. Like, there's no interruption. We have Ray talking to, I think is Chin. Oh, we got to do this, blah, blah, blah. They're traded, whatever. And then when they hear about, Jibril being in Orb, then Durandal picks up like the next sentence, says something as he's walking into. He doesn't even say it. He's just walking to the elevator, but doing the narration, right, the voiceover, and then jumps back again to Ray, right, which I found something very. It wasn't just Ray's talking or Durandal talking; they were interlaced one with the other, which I found interesting.
I think it's really interesting. We've covered already before how connected the two are. I mean, I came up with a theory that Ray is playing Durandal and not the other way around.
Mm.
What is Jibril a lord of? Was he knighted by the queen? Everyone calls him lord, despite being a fugitive of the world.
Could literally be his first name.
I think I joked about that before. You're King Bradley, because his actual name is King.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised. Man, how I wish Kira had expressed those doubts earlier. Yeah, I get that they're born out of past failures, but you would think he would be quicker on the uptick. Like, I don't know, take back order from the Therians. Because he's like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm afraid of what's happening in the future because, he loses the freedom and it's like, oh, I don't know what to do. And, Mira goes like, well, you just have like butterflies in your stomach. Just buck it up and we'll see Lacus again soon. Don't worry about it. And he's like, yeah, I guess so. Interesting. And I know he has doubted earlier, but it's just something, these seems kind of random and too late. Like, I wish he had those doubts before,
I'm not very specific. I don't know which conversation you're referring to, because I thought you were referring to a different one, and then you said Ha, and that's not the one I thought you were referring to.
No, Mura, Ramus. Ramus, they're talking about the repairs they're doing to the Archangel, and Kira's just watching the repairs, and Ramus shows up and they start talking. It's like, oh, I know you look worried, like that. And it's like, yeah, I know you're gonna see Lacus again, blah blah blah. So, yeah, that's the conversation I'm talking about.
Okay, I guess it was just so unimportant to me that I didn't even pick up. I thought you were talking about the conversation he has with Lacus when he gets back up to the ship, where she's so excited to see him, and then he starts talking about, where is it? And she has this whole disappointment look on her face when he realizes he's focused on fighting, and she's not.
I mean, they're under attack. I was going to make a note about that. It was like, yeah, it's too obvious. We already talked about that. So,
Yeah. Archangel waiting to go to Orb now instead of before the whole Logos thing is just adding another poker to the fire. Archangel is an enemy combatant, according to Zaft, due to everything that they've done while hanging around Europe. If Jibril wasn't already an Orb, then they created a secondary target in the country by being there. If they had just gone to Orb when Athrun told them, they wouldn't have been labeled an enemy, and they could have been working as a team to figure out Kigali's situation in the government. I feel like they are trying to imply that it is better that they came back now, because otherwise Kigali wouldn't have been able to trick Yuna and get the power back in any other way. I find that to be ridiculous, especially with Lacus running around, someone who ran an opposition political party as the daughter of a former leader that was killed during the last war, a description that also applies to Kigali. So if we are supposed to have faith in Lacus, then not having faith in Kigali is just stupid. Then again, the whole situation is stupid. They sat at the bottom of the sea to create a convoluted reason for things to wind up as they did now, rather than going back to Orb and figuring it out a long time ago.
Yeah, it's plot hammer after plot hammer after plot hammer. This is what the plot demands because again, I say the reason why that happens and it continues to happen is we want to have these fights against these particular characters. That's what's exciting, right? We want to fight. We want to have Shin fighting Kira, Kira fighting Atherin, Atherin being chased by Kira and Rey, these are setups there for the fight. And you want superhero style, like, oh, look at the cover. Superman is fighting, whoever, which is another hero. It's like, oh, who's gonna win? Turns out that they throw a couple of punches. They're gonna talk more like, hey, why are we fighting? I don't know, because something, and that's it. Yeah. Very comic booky, that way. And now this is on the when Arthur is talking to Kigali, but Neo/Mu is listening to them in the end. Will Neo/Mu heed Arthur's words and turn the page, or is his programming too strong for him to overcome? Because he seems to be thinking over the situation, looking over things, hearing the conversations. Like, he keeps insisting that he's captain.
Well, he's getting upset that they keep deranking him or demoting him.
No.
I mean, it's not too strong.
What do you mean it's obvious?
It's obvious. Ramus points out that he remembers the code to communicate with the bridge.
But
it's not something you don't just intuit. He had to remember it. So obviously that means his memories are still there. I mean, not all, but at least they're coming to the surface, which means it's obvious. This show is not subtle. Literally, she turned and said, "You remember," so that you and me and the audience would know he remembered.
Your next point, then?
Just as a reminder, the accusation is that Durandal has pulled an Ozymandias in order to bring the world together as one and essentially answer the question about how we end this constant cycle of war in a way that wasn't rouse a solution. And just to make our positions clear, I'm fine with that, and you are not. That's not a debate point, just a reminder of stances.
Yeah, let's leave it at that. Now we go to notes, because we
are in our notes already.
I mean, the book that they found, or the notebook they found. And
I'm still upset about that.
Benjamin.
I spent maybe half an hour writing down everything. Like, I zoomed in and everything like that. And then I went through all this process of writing down the very specific thing on the bottom, only to then hit play and have Waltfield just say it fucking out loud. It's like, oh, thank you. That was worth all my time, Waltfield. Fuck you.
The bulk of the notes in the books were related to DNA, but two notes stood out to me: Destiny, Plan, and Hera. Being that we already have a ship called Minerva, which the Romans syncretized with Athena.
Where did you see Hera? I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. Where did you see Hera?
When you open the book in the left page at the bottom, it says Hera. Let's see. I see myself in the screen here.
Here's the thing: is I looked all over the thing. I didn't see any individual word Hera anywhere.
Okay, it's in the page. Because I actually
you said left, so you're talking about the first page.
No, right. No, yeah. First, when they open it up at the bottom, one page says Destiny
Plan is on the middle of the right page. You said on the bottom left of the first page.
On the bottom left, it says Hera, which stood out because it doesn't say anything about.
Well, that's my confusion then, because I wrote everything I fucking saw, and I don't have Hera anywhere in my notes, so.
Yeah. Hera is a goddess of marriage, women, and family, things Durandal himself could not have. But she's mostly known as the vengeful goddess that kills or harms all of Sue's many lovers.
Well, here's another thing real quick, is that's not Durandal's book.
I know.
Okay, I'm just making sure, because your indication that these are things Durandal can't have, and that would make more sense if Durandal was writing it, but this is somebody who worked with Durandal. So...
I mean, we don't know who the book is.
No, we do. It's not Durandal's. Sorry, I'll stop interrupting you. You complete your thing, and then I'll talk about the book thing on my end, where I talked about everything I wrote down. So I'll stop interrupting. I apologize.
Many lovers in the persecution of Heracles. Is Hera another Zaft battleship we don't know about?
My concern, again, is the fact I didn't see Hera. So, but again, it's not his book, so... Anyway, I'll cover my notes, and then you can criticize me for shit that you didn't see. The P3D... the P30 notebook. Inside the book are just a bunch of DNA-related genetics terms that we already covered when talking about the extended notes. Some interesting bits, though. The book lists cytosine and thiamine, indicating that it should be forming nucleotide base for our DNA, but then it also lists uracil, which thiamine would replace in a DNA strand, making this some sort of strange combo of DNA and RNA segments. Even more confusing is that it lists a solenoid containing chromatin, which is a complex, compact form of DNA itself. But I mean, more so that it's a solenoid containing chromatin. So we have all this DNA shit. And by the way, here's a little mechanical part. There is a strange note about cysteine, an amino acid, being referred to a note about call-out cholesterol. Notes about recombinant DNA and drug resilience. The chart right under the words Destiny Plan lists animals on a line graph showing their age to, and the word just looks like times to me, with it going rat, rabbit, bat, horse, human, turtle. Purification of DNA is readily accomplished by something of proteins and other molecules into an organic solvent. Empty space. At a glance, Durandal's so-called empty space would seem to be most beneficial in these times. However, we must never forget people do not live for the sake of the world. The world exists as a place for us to live in. Of note about the notes, Martin says they were written by one of his fellow researchers at the time, not indicating who he is, but clearly Durandal's name is visible in the writing, so it must be one of Durandal's fellow researchers. That's my indication to you that this is not Durandal's book. This is somebody who worked with Durandal's book. That's why they refer to Durandal in the book. Unless Durandal's about talking about himself in the third person. My last note here. Of another note, not my last note, my last note of subnotes about the notebook. Of another note, I spent all that time transcribing what the notebook says and then unpause to have Waltfield just say it. Excepting, of course, he just adds words where there are none in the blank spaces. So Waltfield says it all, and then he makes up words for the blank spots that are in the book that we can clearly see does not say anything. It's more so that I also listened to it in dub.
Yeah.
So the subtitles say what the book says, but in the dub, even though in the book is written in English, Waltfield just says other stuff. It's like, that's not what he said. And I just didn't make a note about the difference in sub and dub here because I was just dumb that Waltfield, it's written in English. He didn't read it in English.
Talking about the notebook again. In the close-up to the chart below the words Destiny Plan shows what appears to be life expectancy of different mammals. Was the plan to create a longer-lived or even immortal human being?
Again, I didn't understand what the word time meant because it says age. I literally already told you this. So you don't have to tell me again. Age, time. Otherwise, you could put it as age, time. It's the same thing both ways, unless they have like a chamber which speeds up time and we can see their ages going up. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, because
no, I got it. I figured it out. It's a Rao thing.
Could be a Rao thing. Yeah.
Remember, Rao ages too fast, so maybe they're testing the time to age. Like, what was that Robin Williams movie where he had that disease?
Is it Robin Williams or is it the?
No, it's Robin Williams where he's like a little kid, but he's like 30 years old or 40 years old.
No.
So,
I don't.
He's 10, but he's having bad problems socializing, so they try to send him to school. So it's all about this 10-year-old in a 40-year-old body trying to play with other kids.
Yeah. I think I remember that movie.
But, because Rao ages too fast. Yeah, well, Robin Williams is a good actor. I don't care. So, but no, Rao ages too fast because he's a bad clone. So maybe that's what time to age means. Maybe
Yeah,
they are cloning
clone.
animals in the same way that they cloned Rao and trying to solve for.
That makes sense. Or simply compare. Well, I guess they would be experimental.
Well, you remember this is
I guess,
the group of people at Mendel, which we know did make Rao, and
yeah.
Durandal was closely related to Rao, so it makes sense that he might have been working on something to try and help his friend. That might be the solenoid thing. Maybe they're swallowing mechanical bits of their pills.
Yeah. Short note here. The Mendel colony. Wow, that was on the nose. Like, oh, this is a genetics lab in space, and let's call it Mendel. The father of modern geneticists, genetic studies. The whole chart about plants and ABB. That's what.
I mean, well,
That's
when
what
have we not been on the nose about this stuff? You make a reference, you need
Yeah.
to make sure people understand it.
Yeah.
So, news report says that the surviving Logos leaders captured at Heaven's Base are going to be tried by a war tribunal put together, and it seemed like it was going to state something about international laws, still very indicative of justice and the rule of law, rather than being killed in the streets like their compatriots got.
Yeah. Which is something I approve of. That's what it should be. You have to have a trial, present the evidence, etc.
Unless it's a
That's the way
kangaroo
it should be.
court.
I'm sure they would claim that it is.
Well, who are you going to get that's not influenced?
Kind of difficult, but not impossible. Now, to my next note, the factory. So the Klein faction has a mobile suit factory at their disposal. How? Why? When? Again, it would have helped if we saw someone questioning the SAF official lie about the break of the world incident, outside of one young reporter taking pictures aboard the plant, or investigating how did Phantom Pain manage to get access to the SAF facility to steal the Gundams in the first place. This is a big trust me bro energy to it. This has a big trust me bro energy to it. Right? This thing just happened. There's a factory all of a sudden. They're building mobile suits for them. We have to protect them, right?
I'll add my note about this to yours then. Seems a bit odd that a random asteroid is hiding a factory, but not only building a brand new model of mobile suit, but brand new Gundam for Kira. Zaft has an entire design wing creating new Gundams, the resources to invest, an entire armory plant to develop and test them. How are they getting materials to this asteroid factory for all this stuff without anyone noticing? I know space is big, but so are mobile suits, and the resources needed to make one are not insignificant, let alone however many you are building. I'm just having a problem with following the believability of this.
And ultimately, I think my biggest problem with that is, what is their motivation? Right? Again,
No, not what is their motivation, what was their motivation. I have a whole other note about that, the fact that you're pacifists who locked away your stuff and are literally shitting on other people for building military facilities and rearming themselves. What was your motivation for building a factory? Because we know what it is now. Now it's understandable and justified. You spent money, resources, time, and people during a peace negotiations to build a mobile suit factory for war.
Your next point, then.
I hate that Atherin wants to apologize to Kira for him being right at Crete. Again, Kira was just guessing with no evidence. Hell, he doesn't even have evidence now. The show is bending over backwards to justify how Kira was right back then. That Lacus is the only one possibly finding any evidence is just that much more damning towards the writing. Like the conversation we once had about the tier list of fictional detectives that could figure out the Death Note, and the odd listing of how they put the ones that could figure out who, but not how, near the top. That's motive without evidence at best, in which case, just an accusation. That's bad detective work. Anyone can point a finger. That's all Kira has done so far. Kira owes Atherin an apology for sitting in a hot spring and fighting him instead of going back to Orb when he was told.
I agree. What I can say about it, I agree. We talked about it and we agree.
Yeah, you remember? Go back to Orb. Kira sitting in a hot spring listening to Kigali and Lacus talk. good
A
action
hot tub,
hero.
really, but
No,
yeah.
it was it's an artificial hot spring, but it's still like literally it's designed to look like a hot spring. So I'm going to call it a hot spring.
Like, my next note. Interesting that the SAF commander called the Eternal Crew terrorist. While I couldn't find a clear definition of terrorism, most of the definitions seem to be tied to attacks on civilians for ideological or political reasons, that is, using terror tactics to influence civilians and governments. All the things that the Archangel has done, none have been directed at civilians or civilian government institutions. An attack against a military target, regardless of their source, does not rise to the level of terrorism in most cases.
They're terrorists because they aren't valid battlefield targets. They aren't a government. They're individuals. No, there's a whole. Sorry, I have a note literally where I poke fun at you about this argument because we've already had this argument about you saying that they're not terrorists and me saying that they are, and now the show has labeled them terrorists because of a zaft commander saying it. So I was thinking, haha, it's funny. You're wrong. I'm right. But I didn't think, I had to go into a bibliography about the God, what's the World Court called? Whatever, the World Court, and its legal parameters for what constitutes terrorism. Because again, I had to already figure out once in an argument with Griffin, based on when Kira was getting Fox court-martialed in the first season.
Yeah, but that's the Geneva Conventions of War. And the Geneva Conventions of War talk about the fact that you have non-combatants, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's a difference between being an illegal combatant and automatically being a terrorist.
Here's the thing, though. I just don't really care about the argument. At the end of the day, what works in the show, I think this actually falls under, I guess this is, I say I don't care about the argument. What falls into this is the argument, or sorry, the discussion we had. I think maybe we had it during the movie. I remember me and Justin, I don't know if me and Griffin did, but me and Justin maybe had it during the show, that this world might be so much darker than our world that the laws might have changed because that they hit Kira in that fake court martial with some actual laws, and then Bad Girl says stuff that about what is actually a law that goes against it that doesn't exist in our world that would make their world that much legally darker. So it could be that this is a pointless argument, that their world has laws that don't exist in our world, and that they are terrorists by the arguments of their world. So regardless of our argument about what real world constitutes them as terrorists, they are still terrorists in that world.
So, but I did have a supposition to add to this as a question. Is Durandal accusing Lacus and the Archangel, or will he accuse Durandal and Lacus and the Archangel of having a connection with the Break the World incident? The clearest form of terrorism that we've seen up to this point in the show, right?
I don't think so. I don't think it makes any sense for him to accuse them of it.
I mean,
it would raise more questions. Literally, if everyone's writing that it happened and we think whoever did it, then adding new targets to that would raise enough questions that you could make anything happen, and you wouldn't want that to happen.
Well, the thing is that we know that the people that did this, even admitted by SAF and the plants, came from SAF, that they were disgruntled, SAF officers and men. It's like, oh, these are also SAF members or former SAF members. Maybe they're part of the same group, right?
So I was legitimately just thinking to myself, well, the thing to do would just not talk about it and hope it goes away. But, I'd be like people not talking about Operation British ever. It's like, pretty sure we remember no matter what happens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So at the start of the second season, we've established an uneasy peace between Zaft and the Earth Federation. Kigali visits Zaft and talks down to Durandal about how he's rebuilding the military, and he shoots back that Orb is doing the same. Lacus and Kira sealed away the Gundam and the Archangel, never intending to use them again. Except, as it turns out, Lacus has an entire space factory ready to go, ready to produce an entirely new series of mobile suits to fight with. Kigali had an entire secret base filled with Orb personnel ready to rebuild Gundams and the Archangel if they got damaged. Hypocrites, the lot of them. At least Durandal was rearming in the public eye. even gave Kigali a tour. These two were looking down on him and arming themselves anyway.
Yeah, although I think the factory seems to be either holdover from the last war, if what they say about the Eternal is true, or people who defected from Zaft and joined the Klein faction. I don't know. It's too murky.
It's
We don't have
still a
enough
resource that Lacus had on hand that she could, with no forward call, just escape into space and go to. They didn't just, take their shuttle and go there. They had to have somebody there already. They had to have had it prepped for life support. They had to have it prepped for, food and resources for whatever people were already there. It's a large rebuilding project, so there has to be, not just military personnel, construction workers, experts in their fields, whatever. They had to have the resources to build the mobile suits. They have to have fueling for those mobile suits, plus the ship that's there. There is so much infrastructure required that she didn't just go up there. That would be the stupidest way to play that. They were prepping for this when peace negotiations were on the table. The pacifists that were shitting on Durandal for rebuilding were rebuilding. Do you understand how bad that makes the heroes of the show? I certainly never want to use that Gundam again. I'm going to lock it away and I'm going to give you the key to make sure I can never do it. By the way, how's that underground base coming in case we need to repair the Gundam?
Talking about that underground base, my next note talks about it. Wherever the Archangel is at the moment, and it seems to be either an orb or near orb.
It's in orb. It's on literally the island that's being attacked currently.
Yeah, it seems like a well-concealed and sophisticated facility. Who paid for all this? Kigali herself? Her father?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I keep saying they're hypocrites.
Yeah.
It's a secret everyone knows. Whatever that's called. I can't remember the name for it. The open secret. It's an open secret. Because literally that's what unit comes walking in the room. They all they didn't act this way when I said the Archangel wasn't here. Because they know you're lying.
And then the next note, which I'll say because they're tied together, because this happens in space. Even a random staff officer is scratching his head at the resources available to the good guys, right? It's like, where do they get this? He's going like, where did they get this stuff? Where are these people who have all this stuff, right? They call, I think, the word they use a faction in the dub. I don't know, like where they get all these toys, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. It makes. I don't know if I have this as a note, but how uninteresting it is how many of our Gundams get destroyed and we just replace them in a moment. But that makes sense for Zaft, because Zaft is the first group to have even made mobile suits in this universe. Plus, we saw at Armory 1, they just are making a bunch of them. But our heroes, especially when they're not tied to Orb anymore, are just getting them.
Yeah.
Who else is making Gundams? Well, no. Only Kigali is getting one from Orb because her dad made it so long ago, and I have a note about that. How stupid that fucking is too. And that's not even it's gold plated, so your citizens should be pissed at you for wasting money. But that's not even that argument. That's the argument I made during the episode. The Batman would do more good as a charity than as a. Thought it was pretty funny all the times we've argued about the fact that I've carved Archangel into gang of terrorists. Sorry, this is the note. That the people on Zaft side just called them terrorists too. It's a one-line note. I forgot that was coming. I thought it was part of a longer note. Let me read it up something else. We already discussed that one.
Yeah.
Unless I'm forgetting something, Orb is still an allied nation of the Earth Federation. That federation might be in shambles, and most of its military might on Earth is used up, but in name, it still exists, and there has been no signal that Orb has pulled out of that alliance. Orb has gone so far as to provide military units through fights against Zaft. It is, in fact, an enemy nation to Zaft, even if not to the former Earth Federation nations themselves. At the end of the day, Gibril being present or not, the Archangel being present or not, the hostility between Zaft and Orb has never been assuaged. So, Despite why Lacus might think Durandal would attack Orb, strength, or ideals, the honest truth is that Orb attacked Zaft first and is now harboring the leader of Blue Cosmos and Logos in their borders and ignoring Zaft's diplomatic outreach. The government of Orb, the military of Orb, and by extension the people of Orb are all complicit in this. I don't blame Zaft for going into hostile territory and taking out the world's worst purveyor of hate and death. I don't know about you, but I still consider SEAL Team 6 to be heroes. If there is any message to be had from this situation, some takeaway to apply to our actual lives, it's that maybe we as people shouldn't sit on our hands when our leaders make choices that separate us from our own morals and ideals.
Yeah.
That's a lead back to why the people of Orb are also complicit.
I mean, the problem is blaming the people when not everybody agrees. The problem is we don't get an insight of how the people of Orb feel. So, unlike we got an insight with people who, in general, the Earth,
Apathetic,
or the
clearly.
people that
clearly apathetic. Here's the argument that I apparently
Also,
didn't
that
write. Here's the argument I didn't clearly didn't
told.
write down, but I thought of last night, and I was prepared to say this. Look at the rest of the world. What did the rest of the world do? They broke down buildings. They marched in with guns. They shot those people dead in the streets. Those people had a response. Orb is the only country didn't see that from.
Because they did. Well, the take is that they didn't know the Gibber was there because they were not announcing it. So maybe the Syrians have had a communications blackout, right?
Except that the Syrians are allies to Logos. Enough so that Kigali knew, and Kigali only knows that because she's from Orb. So they didn't march into the Syrians' house, gun them down for what they did. So again, if we can take I know vigilantism is not something to be encouraged, but at the same time, when the cost is your own country, your people, the friends, family, the lives of everyone you know, then maybe you don't let the government do what it's doing. Maybe you stand up for what your country stood up for the last war. I mean, not everyone's going to be Shin. But maybe you need more Shins. I don't know. I know if Shin was in the country, he wouldn't let the Syrians do what they did. We'd have a whole fucking actual terrorist route of Shin going to down on the government and making them change policies. A V for Vendetta meets Shin territory.
Now, to my next point, this is from the, Kira going to save Lacus and the Eternal. Why is a Rouge Bathe and Plasma going up to space? Sure, there is air resistance, but it doesn't exactly work the same way when the way going up as it is going down. In other words,
so I'm sorry, rephrase that because I don't think I understood what you mean.
Okay, he's taking off in this, and all of a sudden you see this red glow as if we're re-entering the atmosphere, but in fact, he is actually exiting the atmosphere.
Well, he's accelerating through the lower atmosphere at a high speed because he's on that little ramp thing that Orb has that'll super accelerate him. So technically, he is going super fast through an atmosphere, and it gets less the higher he goes because there's less atmosphere, so less resistance.
So they should be less resistance. He shouldn't be like looking like he's going into the atmosphere. It should not look at all like that. You can have shockwaves behind him as he's accelerating.
No, I'm saying that even while there's some level of this where there is going to be high acceleration, which means high resistance that creates the heat at the front of his vehicle, and that resistance lessens the higher he goes up because there's less atmosphere the higher he goes up.
Yeah, but even then, the way it looks like he's already high up in the atmosphere, and we have seen other vehicles also rocket and not go through the same process.
Well, again, he's got that booster thing that because they wrote a rocket pack. Here's the problem: at the end of the day, neither you or I are scientists or experts in this field, so both of us, I think, are going to come from the perspective of this is what makes sense to me, and I don't know. Recent history has told us that people who do that are flat earthers, anti-vax deniers, shit like that. This makes sense to me based on very logical statements of shit that I have no experience in. Look, I don't want to catch the measles, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
No, again, I'm just getting... The problem with this show is I just get more angry about real life the more I discuss, the people not taking matters in their own hands because their government doesn't represent them anymore.
Right.
I hope Shin never hears about Kigali's gold Gundam. And yes, I recognize the end of last episode is literally Shin running into Kigali's gold Gundam. This thing's been sealed away so long that the hallway leading to it was covered in dust. No one thought to bring it out during the last Earth Federation assault on Orb. You know, the one where Shin's family all died to Atha idealism. And yet, they built a Gundam, coated it in gold, and hid it away. I have a side question associated with this, but go ahead, interrupt.
Well, the thing is that they explicitly told that this was built after.
Oh, cool. That goes back to my rearmament thing, where they said, oh, you guys shouldn't be building Gundams and rearming yourselves. By the way, we need to build some underground bases and build some Gundams, too. Fucking hypocrites and idiots. Anyway, side question. Well, I guess there's a problem is you kind of answered this. I didn't hear what you said during the episode, so which is weird because I watched too. But because my question is, how old is this thing? The implication that it's been sitting around untouched for a long time would imply that it shouldn't be anywhere near what is up to date in modern Gundam design. I mean, unless we are going to say that this thing is the pinnacle of design and everything else Orb makes was been intentionally worse, in which case Orb has been sitting on a 5th generation Gundam back when the war was being fought with 1st and 3rd generation Gundams, meaning that this thing is either as useful as just another warm body, or that Erica, Kisaka, and anyone else that is new about this are just guilty of such gross negligence for all the people of Orb that have died in the last war, and this one, of course, you're going to negate the last one because you're saying this is after that, but still this one, with such a powerful defender going unused that it borders on evil. Whatever it is, it's evil if they didn't use it. Whatever it is, it certainly doesn't paint the moment in the light that it wants you to feel.
I mean, I think the problem is that this is very expensive. So I know it's
they're all expensive. That's the point of Logos, and why Logos is evil.
Yeah, I know, but this one is. It's the same reason why replicating the Destroy and replicating the Gaia and other stuff, it's hard because these are more expensive than your average suit, right?
You sent out a force of your nation's military and a bunch of mobile suits, which are gotta be only fractionally less expensive than this. You know, the difference between like a B-52 bomber and a contemporary jet of its time, right? That they are all super expensive. So at some point you get so expensive that it's just fractionally a difference. And you just let all those fucking people die because you didn't send your best with it. You literally sent your best admirals out there, and you sent your best fighters, and you didn't send the best. At the same time, I didn't hear what you were apparently saying you heard about when this thing was made, so my notes in my head still stand, because, you know, that's just the way we argue about stuff. Until I hear it again myself, I only take in the information I took in.
Because it basically said, so to prevent Orb from burning again. That was the phrase that they used.
Yeah, that doesn't tell me that it was built back then. It just tells me that they experienced, because also, he died. He didn't commission this thing to be built after he died. Also, he couldn't have recorded that thing before he died. This thing had to have been built before he died for his recording to be there.
Probably started before he died.
He died in the assault. The assault was like a couple of days. This thing couldn't have been built before that war. It had been built during that war, and in which case it wasn't used. He had to have placed his... what do you think happened? You think they attacked Orb? He goes, we have to arrange all of our defense forces. Hold on, I gotta go downstairs and record a message. All right, I'm back for the nuke that I'm gonna kill us all with. What's the order of operations here?
I mean, he could have recorded a message. He could have ordered the thing to be built, but it wasn't started. I mean, just because you have the plans doesn't mean they started planning it during the war. They could have built it between the wars, right? You have the plans, you have the instructions. Somebody told you to build it. Build it now.
Also, the reverence that they look at it with, it had to have been there since before the guy killed himself. Again, it doesn't make any sense, the order of
Why?
operation, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any fucking goddamn sense, especially in a narrative. The idea that you're supposed to think that this guy was tied to this thing, that's why we're giving a heartfelt message to his daughter through a recording while you're looking at it. It doesn't make any sense that it was here after he died.
Why not? It's as if I commission a sword and I died, and the sword is given to my son. I died. The person making the sword made it after I was dead, and the sword was there. Was given to the person.
Yeah. Fucking convoluted.
No, really.
It is fucking convoluted because you establish that shit. You have to establish that shit ahead of time so that we know the importance of the sword, and that this is the thing that I meant to hand off to my son so that he would have something of me, and I'm going to write this thing. I'm going to write this thing now before I die so that when he gets it later, it's that much more impactful to the audience to know the importance of the sword and then the letter. But this is all at once with no implication or indication, rather, of when anything got made or when, because not in season 1. This thing is never mentioned. It's only mentioned now, right now. So everything you're saying, which could be true, not in the Occam's razor of narrative. You are creating a situation to befit your argument, and that is.
I'm just going for what they said.
No, that's not. That's not what's indicated here.
We'll have to go back and listen to it again, which I'm not going to do right now.
I'm just going by what you just said right now as what they said, and if that's the case, it doesn't defeat what I'm saying because that is so convoluted and unset up. It's bad. It's just bad. It's not.
I mean, how many stories do you have somebody who does something and literally is like, I won't be able to use this, but it will be used in the future? That happens all the time.
Yeah, and you know what? It's typically set up. You know, how great would it be? I promise you probably do this, you fuck. Sorry, I'm so angry right now. And you know half of why I'm angry has nothing to do with you, so I hope you understand that.
Okay.
You're playing D&D, right? And your archer, who has been keeping track of arrows for the whole game because God knows why the fuck he was doing that, but he's done it. It's like, I'm out of arrows. And you're like, you find a corpse in the corner of the room that has a whole quiver of arrows. We didn't need to set it up. I just need you to be effective in the next fight that's coming up because I pre-planned all the fights. So I didn't expect you to start keeping track of arrows. So here's a bunch of arrows. But what happened to that guy? I don't know. I didn't fucking write this story. He was just there. He died in the room. Who the fuck knows? Here's arrows. Take arrows. Unsatisfying.
I'm not saying it's well written. I'm saying that it makes
I'm saying it's not well written. You don't have to say it is well written. I'm saying it's not. You know, the same way that the orb citizens are apathetic to the events of the world around them? Yeah, you can just be apathetic to this. I'll take the blame. People can hate on me all they want. Bad writing is bad writing. And that's why I'm saying it, so it doesn't make you feel the way it makes you supposed to feel, because I'm not there thinking, oh, thank God, Kigali is crying for the 10th time about her dad. It's more, what the fuck is this? What's a fucking gold Gundam down in the basement?
Something I should have noticed before, but I didn't, so I'm going to add it to my notes now. The difference between Lacus and Mir. I also noticed that while Mir wears a futuristic one-piece bikini with a hoop skirt attached, barely so, Lacus wears what appears to be a space kimono. Lacus lady to Mir's tramp?
How dare you, sir?
I mean, that's a show.
Mir's a fine lady. How dare you?
They're setting it up that way because we never see me.
No, the show never calls Mir a tramp. That was you.
Yeah, true. But, Lady and the Tramp, that's not making the connection.
Well, I don't think that's.
And yes, they're not.
That's right. Never mind. I
was
trying to think. It's like, no, never mind. The homeless dog was the tramp. I forgot for a second.
Yeah.
But no, how dare you, sir?
No. That's my observation.
How many more do you have, by the way?
Notes. How much do I have? Oh, I have one more for this episode and 7 more for the other.
Okay, because this is my last one coming up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that Kigali has Yuna arrested as a traitor, but only requests to get Unato on the line. Not arrested or anything. Also, all of this feels too little too late for me. All of this orb drama should have happened a long time ago, either just after Kigali was kidnapped by Kira, or after Atherin told them they needed to go back to Orb. We've been wasting time for so long that, alongside my previous points, this doesn't feel like a heroic return. It feels dumb that things were allowed to get this far. The implications for Kigali's new Gundam, as I just stated, are one thing, but what if she had been a fake? They use no codes or signals to confirm anything. This is the homeland, and they are flying right at the capital and Defense HQ, and you are going to take it on the word of Yuna, an obvious idiot, that the voice on the radio is her? This would be the perfect time to actually send false orders and screw up the already failing defense initiative. Also, Kigali instantly launches into organizing the defense and to counter-assaulting the attacking forces. People in this show are as good at communicating as Basara from Across 7. Contact the attackers, let them know of the regime change, and your desire to assist them with capturing Gibril without further need to attack.
I have a note about that, which is basically the same thing, but I'll wait till I get there.
Might as well just combine it with mine.
That's the last note of episode 40. Okay, Kigali, you're back in charge. Would it kill you to inform staff of the fact plus that you're looking for Gibril to turn him over? Sure, they might ignore that order, seeing as a trick, but at least you said it in the open, forcing Durandal's hand and possibly accomplishing your goal of stopping the fighting. At the very least, you can say, "Hey, I try to stop the fighting. You're after this one guy. I'm going to give it to you, right?" Give me at least a...
I've said it 100 times. I've said it once. These pacifists are so pro-fighting. Again, we have all the comments we've said up till now about how they've set up to fight during the peace negotiations. But no, you remember back when they were with the Orb fleet, and Yuna is like, "That's not her. I would know her anywhere. That's not her. Keep fighting." Yeah. We've already covered this whole. Is that really Kigali, or the suspicion that a fake Kigali is out there? Granted, a bunch of these Orb soldiers or whatever, sailors, whatever, obviously think that's really Kigali, but not for nothing, we could fake her voice. It doesn't seem like it's that hard to do. I'm watching a 1977 anime where a plot point is literally the bad guys are faking the father's voice to make them surrender or join the bad guys or whatever. And it's can you imagine if Zaft was faking Kigali's voice and giving false orders all over the fucking place? And these guys are immediately, she goes, "Arrest him for being a traitor," bam, in the face. And it's emotionally satisfying, but at the same time, what if not? What if not, though? Granted, Yuna wasn't going to save you. Yuna was literally throwing you under the bus for the failures, but at the same time, what if that just turns out to be a fake radio Kigali and you've punched the guy who's now still in charge of you, who's not shown to be himself emotionally stable?
Anyway.
Better get to sucking some toes. Sorry, the whole, you know what I'm talking
about. The last note on episode 39, Kira of the Skies. Okay, if you didn't know if Kira was the hero of the story, the angelic chorus that kicks in when he sees his new Gundam sure tries to sell you on the idea. Because literally, they have the conversation. "Oh, I need to get to the Gundam. I'm going to show you where the Gundam is." He looks up "Oh," it's "Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Go ahead, Kira, save the day." That's which he does, but
they should have it posed like Adam from Evangelion.
Yeah,
"There's your new Gundam."
Now I already skipped to the last note on episode 40, but I have a couple more. So interesting that Randall says to Shin that he shouldn't betray this moment. It seems that everything with Randall Ray now boils down to loyalty, because they keep humming the point of, especially Ray. "Oh, they're traitors. Oh, you have to be. I'm loyal to Jill. I'm loyal to us." That's sort of the thing that he keeps using on Shin all the time. Loyalty, 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 right? And, it's again, Durandal uses the same term. "We're not going to betray this moment." It's okay. In any other context, it was we have to rise to the moment. Pretty straightforward. But it's all this talk about loyalty. It was yeah, that's us.
I don't know. There's a whole lot going on in that field. You know, basically we just dealt with Atherin, but the whole what's going on with him and Talia.
Which I will talk about. Talking about Talia, Talia still has questions about how the whole Arthur thing went down. Will she turn her back on Durandal and the Zaft? And Zaft, not the Zaft. The way Ramius did with the Earth Alliance?
Actually, I think the Zaft is probably better. Because remember, it's Zodiac Alliance, something treaty.
Peace.
Yeah, so the Zaft would be the... Because, you know, my argument about the treaty as a final word in your sentence doesn't make any sense. Like, it should be organization or something, Zafto. But if it's the at the beginning, that would be... Because you get all the stuff in the middle, the treaty. So that makes more sense than just Zaft. That's my take with him. I'm sure. My problem is that I was going to write a whole note about being kind of done with Talia being upset all the time. But then it occurred to me that her point of being upset is that essentially Durandal got 2 members of her crew killed, and she cares about her crew. So it's not so much I'm angry that you're not talking to me. I'm angry that this happened.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to be getting better.
Next point now to the Syrians. The Syrians are either stupid or desperate to take in Jibril and harbor him after the events of the last battle. Jibril seems to have something over the elder Syrian that gives him leverage in the situation. Juna, well, he's just an idiot.
I think that's what I was going to say. You have to consider the two of them separate. Yuna is nobody. Unato is somebody. I don't know if he has something over him. See, the thing that triggered me for a moment, because I was watching it, and he goes, "That's what you're just going to have to do, Anata Emma." I'm like, Emma. And I'm looking at all this shit, and it's like, no, that's just his fucking middle name. It's like, I'm like, oh, is that a surname? Is it like, is he not a Syrian? Is he like just another fucking name? Unless it was meant to mean something a long time ago, and we just wrote everything down together.
I think it's Jibril being very extremely personal. Like, I can call you even by your middle name, like, you know, the control situation, which, you know, he seems to be like, okay.
Well, no, he looks like, he doesn't look subservient to me. He looks like stressed the fuck out. Like, you know, because Jibril's like, if this doesn't happen, then you're going down too. So it's like, I think he knows that he can't stay in Orb. Orb isn't the place for him anymore.
Yeah.
Which makes him a nobody. So he's just essentially, I gotta give it all up to get the fuck out of here. But again, going back to my confusion about why Kigali said, also get Unato on the line. You know, you arrested Yuna as a traitor. But his dad? Again, my whole point from like really early in the season about the fact that Yuna is just a fucking idiot who's playing emotional games. But Unato is saying logical shit that actually makes sense. You know, we have to bend the knee to make sure the people of Orb don't suffer for our actions.
I mean, in the beginning, but now seems like
he's not said anything since then. That's the point. It's like he hasn't said anything. Yeah. All our point of view has been Yuna, and then Yuna talking to him, but he doesn't say anything back. So from our perspective, well, I don't know, because obviously Unato is in league with Logos. That's inarguable. But he might still have the best interests of the country at heart.
No, I think it's just. I think for him, it's just he was very good at sophistry.
Well, no. Think about it. I mean, you could consider him to have the best. Logos controls what 90% of the Earth's countries. Say, like there's very many Earth Federation countries standing up against them, and as pointed out, there's only like a couple of Zaft bases close by, whereas the rest of the world is Logos. And his point is, well, better to bend the knee than to see our country suffer again like it did in the last war. So it's not an indefensible position to take.
No, but one situation changed, right, against the Earth Alliance and seemed to clearly be losing, and Logos got called out. You would think it's like, yeah, it's time to reconsider. If we want to protect Orb, we got to reconsider.
Well,
right?
Again, we don't know. We don't know what the position of things are. Again, my point of that Zaft only has a couple nearby bases. Maybe they built Earth Federation bases in Orb while they were there. Maybe they have a sitting force there. If you suddenly turn on them, you have essentially a large terrorist force.
Yeah. So where are they now? They're not defending Orb.
They're probably defending
Only
Gibraltar. Where are they now? Probably escorting Gibraltar to the space elevator. Like, what do you think they're doing? They have one thing, and that's we're not staying here either.
But also, no, but I'm talking about Orb. Like, Orb is like, and also other countries have joined with SAF, so now SAF has a coalition of Earth.
Again, it's my neighbor a block away from here is assembling a bunch of guns and other people. Unfortunately, there's a serial killer in my house. So I'm gonna have to worry about the mob that's coming for me in a minute. The serial killer is sitting next to me. I got to take care of that first. Yeah. You know, the threat that's at your house. The threat that's close to you is the threat that's present.
Finally, Kagala gets it. Which he had done that earlier against the Earth Alliance. Like, oh yeah, the threat is Syrians. The threat is Logos. I'm going to try to do something about it. Well, you should have done that like 10 episodes ago, maybe 15 episodes ago, Kigali. You were literally told point blank what was going on, right?
Again, I'm going to also pivot a little bit, or not pivot, shift. Mm-hmm. Kira shouldn't have kidnapped her.
Again, I think the problem is Kigali wasn't in a position to do anything.
She was in a position to do anything. She didn't, though. Your argument is more that she lacked the will to do something. She always was in a position to do something.
But she didn't, so.
She didn't. But you know what? She also had the ability to rob from her by Kira. At any point, she could have done anything. Yuna doesn't take over the government for getting married. She's still chief representative. We know that because she comes back last episode and says, you acknowledge that I am Kigali, something Atha, chief representative of Orb. The idea that they're still married, according to Yuna, and she's still chief representative, which means getting married to him doesn't take away her power. So again, it would have just been a matter of her learning to use it. That's why I made the argument in one of my earlier notes about the fact that they should have worked as a team to help Kigali take the government back instead of kidnapping her. This should have been like a thing we did way a long time ago. But the problem is that they said, by the end of the story, we need a fight in Orb. So we're not going to do the logical thing where Kira helps his twin to get her mojo back or whatever the fuck and, you know, reposition herself back in the government. Like, literally, I feel like this all could have been solved by a cup of tea and a conversation back at their house on the beach. I don't know what to do about him. He pushes me when I'm in the car and I feel all the social. Everyone's looking at me. I'm always on the news. I gotta smile. Well, Kigali, what you need to do here is, then Waltfield comes walking in. He's got like adult advice about the thing, and we know Moralia is around. She just comes walking in too, and we tell you about what I had to do when I was on the bridge. Just fucking conversations. And then Kigali is like, oh, now I understand. Yeah, I remember what it was like to be in this when we were back in the desert, and and Kasaka comes walking in, tells her how she used to act about stuff. Didn't require a kidnapping.
No. Yeah, it was very forced. Now, my take on the Golden, call it at least, new Gundam. Cry havoc and let slip the bling of war, I guess. Because it seems pretty excessive. I know what it did. It's clearly something that was made to sell toys, right? Oh, hey, you want a new, literally shiny new toy? Here it is. Gold-plated and everything. I don't know how well it's sold in Gunpla kits, but it was clearly made for Gunpla kits.
Like I said, that country better not have, like, any social problems. Like, there better not be any homeless people. They better have great health care. Like, if there is one, like, education is failing, if there's anything, suddenly showing us a gold-plated Gundam is like not electing that one again. So we didn't have enough money for cancer research. Where did that money go? we just cut a bunch of funding for the social welfare net, right? To make sure that older people are taken care of. What? Maybe the Syrians were right.
And my final note, because I already said literally the final note of the episode. And this is actually a good way to finish it. Seeing Junior getting punched in the face was so satisfying, especially as Kigali set him up so easily. That's my
I
final
don't know. It
note.
seemed inappropriate in hindsight. I said it was emotionally satisfying, but he wasn't a threat. There's like no violence required there. Literally, somebody could just taken his arm behind his back and held him.
Yeah, but you know, some people have punchable faces.
Yeah, and that's always a reason to violence.
Oh.
You remember in this show where hurt people? I don't think emotionally unstable Yuna is going to take that as fine if he, like, I don't know, his father gets him out at some point, and then down the road he has a gun in hand and a vulnerable person is in his way. He's going to remember that he got punched recently this day, and I don't know, I can see it pretty easy. We got, like, 9 episodes to go. It's plenty of time for Yuna to get a final stand.
That's it. Those are my notes.
All right. Well, we have comments, of course. Benrear756 from the Patreon from the episode Kira of the Skies. Comments for this episode. Maybe you'll catch this on the rewatch. But what I was hoping to see Theta react to was Kira becoming a complete new type. Right before Kira disables the 3 Nazca-class ships, the new type of blink effect goes off, immediately before he uses the Dragoons to destroy the weapons and disable the engines. I was expecting Theta to get upset and Kira was suddenly getting stronger or obtaining new abilities when Kira becoming a new type has been hinted since Season 1. You picked that up, right?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Rao and LaFlaga were the only new types in Season 1. You picked that up, right?
Yeah. Sort of.
Are you being sarcastic or are you not?
Well, the thing is that we have seed in this universe, so being also a new type seems redundant?
Well, the element that I don't pick up from this, I'm obviously not done here, this isn't even the first note done, but is the commentary that we had all throughout Season 1, and I appreciate you so much in this, Friendrear756, is that you didn't make comments back then, you probably weren't watching us back then, I don't know, that you didn't like, oh, that's because they're new types, or something like that, like every other YouTube commenter would have done. So I appreciate that you held back there. But our commentary back then and during the episodes, I think, maybe not me and Griffin, possibly, but I know me and Justin, was the element that there's something going on between these two. And we didn't think, oh, they're both new types, probably because we didn't know what new types were yet. More an element, maybe they're connected by something, and then the fact that one turns out to be the clone of the other one's father, we were thinking, oh, twins shit, things like that. So even then, I don't register that as new type stuff, because they just register each other. Because I think Ray does that at one point, doesn't he? In the beginning of this season? I think Ray does that to somebody, either Neo or somebody. So that implies that Ray is a new type.
Neo. Yeah, with Neo as well.
Yeah, because that was what we thought. Even then, I think we discussed the fact that maybe they're clones or twins or brothers or anything like that. So the indication therein is that they would be related, not that they're new types, because now the indication here is that, Rao, LaFlaga, and Ray are also new types. Well, not one of those. One of those are dead now. But anyway.
I did notice, sorry, I know that what he's talking about, there's a moment when sort of Kira kind of looks up and you see the flash, and that's when he activates the dragons. I was going to write a note, it's like, Kira is now using the very same weapon system that killed Flay when he was fighting Rao.
Yeah, and I was more upset about the fact that, he just got a fucking new Gundam out of nowhere. Where's the whole factory thing come out? All the inspiration for all our notes about the factory.
Yeah.
Rao and LaFlaga were the only new types in Season 1, but the signs that Kira was becoming one were first hinted at when Rao sensed Kira approach with a new type blink in the Mendel colony immediately before the Freedom disabled his Guaz, and in the final episode, Kira was able to sense that Rao was going after the Archangel, even though he couldn't understand exactly what he was sensing, and Rao's new type blink was triggered by Kira's approach again just before they started fighting. In Destiny, Kira has been shown to repeatedly sense Neo's presence, and from that was ultimately able to determine that Neo was actually Mu. While the concept of new type does not exist in the Seed universe like in the Universal Century universe, All characters who are shown with the new type of blink effectively are new types in seed.
Fenrir, I just have to point out, you just said something that it doesn't exist in this universe, but it exists in this universe? Which one is it?
Well, I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, I think that's just being pedantic over how he wrote it. I think we all understand what it means.
I mean, I guess it might mean that there's an extra layer, but you have normal people, then you have coordinators, then you have people that may or may not be coordinators or have seed, and then you have people with seed who can also may or may not have an extra ability. This is a card pileup of, EXP bullshit that is just,
Well, I mean, it's weird to parse out that the new types are like genetically evolved from living in space and everything like that, right?
Mhm.
Whereas seed is well, actually, because coordinators. See, it's not even just that seed exists; it's coordinators exist, seed exists. It's completely separate because Kigali has seed, but is a natural, and now new types. But the thing is that coordinators are genetically designed to be coordinators. So how can you evolve into being a new type, but also be genetically created? Because wouldn't that mean that almost, let's see, the fact that, well, no, because Rao is also not a coordinator. So,
but he's genetically.
no, sorry, Laflanga is not a coordinator. Rao is.
Yeah.
Or whatever Rao. Anyway, the idea then that if there is a coordinator who's also a new type, that is something you could make all coordinators. So you could just make all coordinators new types, and then figure out the seed thing, and just make all coordinators new types with seed. Like, at this point, we have created the Ubermensch. There is a superior race out there. And we can make everybody that. Let's go watch Gattaca.
And also, we haven't even created systems that can either exploit seed abilities or new type abilities, which is the whole thing about the new types, that you can actually make a system that people in the system system that can be exploited, right? Oh, hey, you have these abilities, you have faster reactions. It's hinted, and I know probably Ferris is going to say, well, it's hinted on the destroy and the. Yeah, I get it.
I've read all the launching things. I've told them to you out loud during notes because they're so stupidly named. It's the only Gundam series with everything is an acronym.
Yeah, and hinted that they'd be better pilots, but again,
well, I mean, because they don't need like Psychomu and everything, because they've got gun bits or dragoons as they're called here, or because they're acting independently, whereas the Psychomu was the thing in or OG Gundam that operated the Elspeth's gun bits. So they needed to be a new type there to do that. This just fucking happens. And they have Meteor here, which is just better than you being a new type. Oh, we need to assault 25 different targets at once. It's all done. Boom, handled it.
Yeah.
Sorry, the next note, I'm trying to decide if it's a spoiler or not. Okay, question to you. To you about if I read this or not. Do you believe... Actually, no more question. I'll just not read the last sentence because he names a thing. Or sorry, they name a thing. I don't know, Fender. They name a thing that... Do you think the Three Ships Alliance has a name? Or is it just the Three Ships Alliance?
Probably has a name, but we haven't heard it.
There you go. That's the answer I was expecting. That's why I'm not going to spoil anything. With respect to the confusion/criticism over how Lacus and the rest of our faction have so many resources at their disposal, after the last war, the Three Ships Alliance began laying the groundwork independently of Orb's government to gather resources and create an independent information network to gather information from around the Earth and the planets. I don't think that's a spoiler. We've seen Hall and her group. In the event another war break out. Spoiler... It is the organization that was regularly updating the Archangel with information on what the Orb fleet was doing with the Earth forces and provided them with whatever information and supplies they needed. The factory mentioned in this episode was one of the bases that was created in order to ensure Kira and the others would be adequately equipped with the latest in mobile suit technology. This show does a terrible job of explaining such justifying this, and this episode is the last time is ever mentioned. Again, it doesn't need to explain, maybe justify, but then again, that's why I had a whole note about calling them hypocrites. Especially when we go over Kigali talking down to Durandal about your rearming and everything like that, and they were doing this during peace. They were literally like, thank God the war is over, let's arm ourselves for the next one.
I mean, I can see that you want to avoid another devastating war and you have to be ready for it.
No faith. We have no faith in humanity or the proposition that peace can exist.
Well, I mean, when one side still has Blue Cosmos, yeah.
And again, we locked away the Archangel and the Gundam, and then built places to build more mobile suits and Gundams. Hypocrisy. Yeah. The information Lacus was looking at in the beginning of the episode was not what DaCosta found, and it was not definitive proof of Durandal's wrongdoings, but appeared to indicate that all the information related to the terrorists and equipment used to drop Jaina 7 on Earth has been completely scrubbed so as not to leave any traces or leads, which is extremely suspicious as some of the Djinns and the engines used to propel Jaina 7 were likely salvageable, but the fact that nothing about their origin or personal information about any of the terrorist plots was recoverable implies that someone with significant authority in the plants must have deliberately erased that information, and conveniently the Earth forces declaring war on the plants distracted everyone from investigating who the terrorists were and how they got their equipment. Also, the information DaCosta recovered was from a scientist who worked with Durandal, as I told you, and appeared to only have general notes describing Durandal's destiny plan and the writer's opinion of it. So it being looked over when the rest of Durandal's personal information was cleaned out of Mendel is far more reasonable than your initial impression of what was recovered.
Okay. Now, here's the thing, and I said this before. I think I said in the comments. It would have helped if someone else kept investigating, because the only thing we get is, SAF investigated itself, sent that report to the Earth Alliance saying, and the Earth Alliance rejected that report and blamed them for the attack. Okay, they wanted a war anyway, so this was an excuse. But if you have a faction that is willing to do this, somebody somewhere, I don't know, guess, and it's her people or someone else will go like, you know what? This is too suspicious. Let's keep investigating to make sure that we have all our facts. Either somebody's lying, or we have irrefutable proof that this is, their faction. So we can go and find them and arrest them and deal with them, right? But that doesn't happen.
I mean, well, for one thing, here, the comment. That someone with significant authority in plant must have deliberately erased information. I don't know where you get that from. Mendel isn't a plant colony, so why did it have to be somebody with authority in the plants to have erased this information? Also, legitimately, Mendel has been abandoned for such a long time that it was abandoned during the last war. It was abandoned before the last war. So
what he's saying is that information, the bio on Durandal and the screen which has the redacted.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry. I get what you're saying.
They're not from Mendel. They're from somewhere else.
All right, sure. But that doesn't implicate Durandal, though. I mean, it implicates him as a possible suspect, but it also implicates the entirety of the council. It implicates everybody in a command authority. Literally, you're like, how many people on Earth have type A blood? And it's like, cool, we've narrowed it down. It's like,
well, which is if that is the case, if that were to happen, somebody in Texas, that actually would set someone else, somebody with a conspiracy mind, like, this is a conspiracy, I must investigate, right? Because why would they hide it otherwise, right? You have somebody going like,
Well, I mean, yeah, but we already covered the fact that they should have been investigating.
Yeah.
Like at the end of last episode, I think we just talked about that for a while. This isn't like new breakthrough information. It's like, should have been doing this shit. Also, are you saying the entire time she's been in space, from the moment she got there to now, all she's found was one file that's been redacted? Good job, Lacus. number 1. And yeah, I mean, there's something to read into here about what is Jibril's connection to Durandal. Like the fact that they both had the same information on their screens at one time. Has it been that Jibril's actually been under Durandal the entire time, and that the entire war was just a creation of them to create a brand new world, and that Logos thought it was going to be in charge with Durandal here, and it turns out that Durandal's like, no, don't need you, and just got rid of them right before the end, which is why Jibril's like, damn you, Durandal. As though the unwritten part is, we had a deal. Although that doesn't make a lot of sense either. I mean, it makes sense when I was saying it, but it doesn't make sense from the perspective of, didn't he order a full-scale nuclear attack on the plants when Durandal was literally right there? Like, really about to get nuked? Where does that plan fall? Like, also, didn't Durandal, if he is responsible for Janus 7 falling, literally almost drop Janus 7 on your head and the heads of the entire organization? Like, you've gone 1 for 1 about killing your possible partners. That doesn't feel right. Either that's bad writing, and it's true, or it's not true, and it's still kind of bad writing.
Well, Durandal knows, and he's been manipulating and pushing Jibril's buttons all the time.
Oh, I can't wait for Ray turns out to be manipulating Durandal. Like I said, I feel like that's the one conspiracy theory that could still be true. I think it's also important to note that Zaft has no evidence directly connecting the Eternal and its crew with the imposter Lacus who hijacked the shuttle. The recon Jin waiting for someone to look into anyone visiting Mendel which could just be a salvager. And the fact that Zaft is observing Mendel and prepared to kill anyone who investigated means that Durandal is heavily invested in removing Lacus from the equation. Again, the element that I just said before about anybody in the council, anybody in higher Zaft military command, doesn't have to be Durandal. The implication is that anybody could be responsible for this.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Durandal is a character we follow is the only reason. Literally, could be anybody that we saw in season 1 that's still alive. Like, Yazik's mother, where is she? You know? Turns out Sai has turned evil. He's joined Zaft, and he's now running the bad guys. I mean, it makes a logical point only from the perspective of we are viewers of a show, and we have a limited number of characters that we think that the writers expect us to follow. But then again, what if they threw out a villain at the end, just the same way they threw out new Gundams? It turns out it was me, Anthony Zola, Atherin's brother. There wasn't actually a picture of Atherin on Patrick's desk. It was me, Anthony.
The twin clone brother of Atherin.
Yes, who's been training to be a new type this whole time, somewhere around Jupiter. And thank God, I've got 2 seeds.
Yeah.
You know? The point about the Zaft executive officer being confused about them having the Gaia is that they think they're chasing hijackers who have a Lacus impersonator, but the fact that they were able to build their own Gaia must mean that they have access to extremely sensitive Zaft information that should be beyond a small group of hijackers. The Zaft soldiers don't understand who they are actually chasing, and this is meant to demonstrate that the Zaft soldiers have not been properly informed as to what they might be up against, likely to prevent them from asking questions such as, how could Lacus have lost the Eternal?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, here's the thing, though. They've seen Mir dancing all the fuck over the place, and they think that's Lacus. She's never been in the Eternal this entire show. So, where did they think the Eternal was?
They even said that, I thought the ship had been decommissioned or more. How did that ship escape the end of the war? I think something to that effect. They say something like that. So it's like, yeah.
Well, as I'm saying, I don't think them thinking, how did Lacus lose the Eternal if they've never seen her with it since the end of the war?
Mhm.
The goof whip can't break through phase shift, but is capable of destroying the rifle if the electricity is triggered, which it wasn't when they used it on the Strike Freedom.
Oh, yeah.
Based on no information, I assume. We have no information to know that the goof whip can't break through phase shift armor. Again, this is one of
Everything
those
else
things that I
did.
constantly bitch about, where they're using technical manual information. Don't care. Don't fucking care, because that's not in the show, right? That's like if they do something stupid in a movie based on a book, and you're like, oh, it's explained in the book. Well, then you wrote a bad movie. The movie needs to be self-explanatory.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that the Zaft soldiers on the Nazca ships could either abandon ship or be rescued by other Zaft forces.
Unless they're too close to Earth and they start,
Well, that was your thing. I think my thing is that they're just floating in the middle of nowhere. Conceivably, if they're completely disabled, then they have no communication systems, and you're like, the entire thing about how do they sneak resources into the factory, right? If you're so clearly in a place where people don't see you doing shit all the time, then there's the possibility that you're just going to asphyxiate in space, or freeze to death in space, or any of the other number of ways that people can just regularly die in a regular situation.
Well, I guess they disable the engines. I don't know if that really disables the power aboard the ships, though.
I don't know, they hit them
It
in
could.
multiple spots.
Yeah. But then, he was shooting for the engines.
Well, that's the idea.
Mm.
All right, that was the end of the first comment. Now the second comment, Fender756, of course, still from the Patreon, Legacy of Gold, comments for this episode. My interpretation of the nightmares that Shin has is that on some level, Shin is starting to understand that he is not on a good path and that his rage is leading him to hurt/kill people who don't deserve it. But unfortunately, Rei is always near him to prevent him from seriously examining himself. And the fact that Durandal is constantly praising him also helps him ignore his own misgivings.
I mean, true.
I
There
disagree.
is one.
Since you said true, I'm disagreeing right off the bat.
Because there's a part where he is like, I'm going to destroy this, and he sees himself attacking Stella.
Well, actually, he sees Stella scream, but then he also sees himself attacking Kira and having to explain to Kira. So it's not what we were talking about during the reaction, that he is re-remembering the scenario to make himself the bad guy. He's just re-remembering the scenario, and the scenario starts with Stella screaming, and then he's attacking Kira. So it implies that it is just what happened. Kira attacked the destroy, then Shin goes and gets in the way of Kira. I disagree with this specifically because we see Shin's sister dying in the middle of the whole nightmare flashback thing, which implies that he's not understanding anything about himself. He is seeing the reasons for his anger. Again, he's seeing Kira attacking Stella. He's seeing his sister dying. Those are justifications. Those aren't course corrections. Again, not that I think Shin needs a course correction, because I'm still on his side. Okay, I thought you had more.
No.
After Durandal learned Jibril was an orb, there was a brief frame showing him smiling, and I believe this was meant to substantiate Lacus's claims that he intended to destroy Orb, and the perfect justification for doing so just fell in his lap. It's also possible that Zaft forces were positioned in such a way to make it difficult for Jibril to reach the mass drivers at either Panama or Victoria to try and force him to Orb.
I mean, that last one, we have no idea, because the only forces that come out, he does mention Panama and Alaska, but it's like, oh, he could make it there, which means maybe there isn't.
I mean, I'm not
forces
100%
there.
certain where Heaven's Base actually was.
I think it was in the North Pole. It's not actually no South Pole, because it was.
Yeah. The one thing most people get confused about, which one has land. Yeah. Or I guess icebergs, technically. I mean, it's not land, but something. I don't know. It could have literally just been any northern country. Could have been in Russia for all we know.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Not knowing exactly where it is doesn't give us a lot of room to say where he could have gone to. To the other part, though, again, I don't believe a character just grinning at camera means anything. Spoiler alert to Bleach, hand in the air. Jin was a fucking no-eyes grinner the entire time, and it turns out he was actually working against the bad guy. So, doesn't actually mean everything. I agree it makes no sense for Natu and Yuna to help Jibril or provide him sanctuary, as essentially he has no legal power to control the Earth Alliance, and inviting him in only gave Zaft a legitimate reason to invade. I can't see Jibril being able to realistically offer them anything that would make them agree, and there's no realistic way for them to believe taking him in is in Orb's best interests. So I think we're supposed to believe they do it for purely selfish reasons, but I can't even guess what those would be. I mean, immediately off the top of my head, Jibril just comes out and says, they're on my side, or they've been working with me the whole time. Blackmail is a powerful thing. Literally, and it's not untrue, apparently. So, yeah, they could be defending him for their own self-interests. That's probably what they've got on their hand. Also, I think you're wrong about the fact that Jibril has no authority or power to control the Earth Alliance, because the Earth Alliance people are fucking still listening to him.
Yeah.
It's evidenced because he got to Orb. Literally, Earth Alliance people escorted him to, I assume, was a submarine, and he got here. So he didn't do it on his own.
In fact, I think he shifted from a submarine to another base, and from that base he took a plane to Orb. So, yeah.
Well, whatever he didn't do it alone.
Yeah.
And he's, as already mentioned, planning to go to the moon, where another Earth Federation base is. So, anticipating...
Space,
So what?
Space. He didn't say the moon. He said space.
No, he said the moon. Because
he said, I want to go...
No, you're talking about the Durandal conversation. Jibril says Durandal's going to go into space, and then I'm going to follow him where we still have a moon base, and we're going to go there and we're going to take Durandal out. He mentions the moon base because specifically also back in season 4, back in episode 4 or 5 or something, we talked about how many moon bases there were, and there's 3 of them, and one of them was destroyed in season 1, so there's multiple moon bases. Even though Durandal and his staff talked about negotiating with Orb, I think that was merely sophistry, as there was no further negotiation after Yuna's stupid response to their demand beyond invading the nation. They could have shown the evidence they possessed and reiterated their demands, but they immediately invaded, and the commanding officer later commented that Orb was the one nation they would like to see dealt with once and for all.
I noted that. That was pretty sinister, but
it's not sinister.
It is if you want to destroy the country and not, say, bring people to justice.
Orb is fucking annoying. I mean, specifically in this war, that they sent out an expeditionary force to attack Zaft forces across the globe. Gotta fucking deal with these people once and for all. They keep fucking showing up. And to some degree, I have to wonder how many Zaft force people believe that the Archangel is a part of Orb. Literally, we know they're using Orb facilities. They were friendly with Orb during the Three Ships Alliance and all that shit before. Legitimately, there's got to be some tie in people's minds about that.
And Orb uniforms, but they don't see them in Orb uniforms, so...
Yeah, except for Kigali, who is actively on the Archangel, so... So, yeah, that's my excuse for that guy, even though he's, literally just one guy. But, to the negotiating thing, they did try. Literally, they didn't have to try at all. So they did try. And Yuna lied. And they don't have any responsibility to talk to a liar. We tried, you failed. Pay the consequences.
I mean, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They're calling it sophistry? Sure. But he never had to in the first place. I don't think it's fair to blame the Orb citizens for what's happening, because Kiska tells Kigali that government censorship is currently in effect, so they have no idea that Zaft is threatening to invade if they don't turn over Jibril. If they did know, then that might be a valid argument, but they are being kept intentionally clueless by the government.
I mean, it gets mentioned, and that's why I think I mentioned it earlier as well. They didn't know.
I I disagree. I disagree on the premise that that's the future. That's the future we're looking at there. And can you imagine, like, even China with its great
Wait.
firewall? Sorry, do you actually need to go, or are you trying to interrupt me to make me look stupid? Because one of these two
No.
is. Okay, I would say China's great firewall doesn't keep out American propaganda. So you're telling me that the Orb news network government rather, has gone from open politics to worse censorship than even China today in the course of like 1 year, and everyone was fine with it?
Again, we don't see the average Orb citizen take on it like we see the plants or even the Earth Alliance. So that's the problem.
Again, well, yeah, but we can work with interpretation of what's going on. We can extrapolate, right? That the nation was described to us so fully in season 1, and now it is a totalitarian government that is heavy news censorship. Like, again, I think we can all understand what I say, the Great Firewall in China, and yet they still have to block shit constantly and keep an eye out for shit because you can't keep shit out. That's just modern day, and this is the future. This is the goddamn future. I have to think that news signals are getting in from all over the world.
Yeah.
And even if not, even if they did figure out that they were getting censored, should people be pirating shit all the constantly? They're like, that just wouldn't pan out. Erica Simmons never slapped Kigali in season 1. She commented on Azumi slapping Kigali for acting like a brat when Kigali and Azumi were interacting in public. In case this comment is responded to as me pointing out something obvious from the show, like some of my previous comments, where even though they were in direct response to statements made during the previous episode, it started out as though, well, if this is this thing, but not like I was doing again. Like, Theta was calling for Erica to slap Kigali again. No, I wasn't. I don't remember ever saying slap her again. Maybe I did. I don't know. I get flippant sometimes, so I don't recall that sentiment ever being expressed. But I will say I don't remember what this one is about. I remember Kigali sheepishly looking at Erica while Erica is talking down to Kigali, and then Kira just walks into the scene, and then they have a whole different conversation, but Kigali has this like red welt on her face, and I don't remember Kigali acting like a brat with Azumi when they were in public. And you think Azumi is slapping Kigali around?
I don't remember, so I don't think that was on the compilation movie, so...
Yeah, so for me, don't remember it, and it doesn't make sense the way you're describing it. So I'm going to treat you the same way that I treat lessons when I'm debating and say, until you give me timestamps and episodes. The Akatsuki was under construction during the first war, but was not complete or ready by the time of the first Battle of Orb. Also, I know Theta might be being sarcastic. The Akatsuki isn't made of gold, but a special mirror surface armor that makes it immune to beam fire and can reflect positron beams. Finally, Orb probably has one of the highest standards of living in Earth countries, especially during the war, since their geothermal energy prevented the Endjammers from causing an energy crisis like in the rest of the war. You remember all those deep conversations about Orb geothermal energy, right?
No, but I do remember the Endjammers, though.
Yeah, well, the Endjammers were dropped all over the world by zaft. Yeah, so I'm saying this is, I assume, manga information or novel information or technical manual information, not stuff that we know. And as I said, there is a lot of places that a society can fall down on when it comes to social welfare. So even if people are living great lives, just think about any part of the government. It's a problem here, so I can give only United States examples. I can't. I don't know enough about other governments in the world, but I think I gave enough during our notes that you know everything there. It's not gold; it's a mirror. It just reflects gold, which is everywhere apparently. And again, they're indicating the same thing that you indicated about when it was built, but again, that doesn't make any logical sense to me. Orb gets its tactical advantage back because Yuno was supposed to be issuing orders organizing the defense, but he had no idea what he was doing and was more interested in blaming the military officers for what was happening. While Kigali lacks training as a politician, she is definitely more equipped to be a military commander, and she was issuing orders from the Orb headquarters during the First War after all. So her ability to organize and coordinate the defense is what enabled Orb to regroup and counterattack.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me from the perspective of she literally has taken charge for like a minute, right? And then the guys in the zaft sub are like, they're beating us back. And it's like, yeah. When Yuna wasn't giving orders and blaming the commanders, your forces were just getting, Orb, were just getting decimated, right? They were just getting blown up. So,
I mean, they rallied and attacked back. I mean, that.
imagine walking by a chess game, right? And the guy doesn't know how to play chess, and he's lost most of his, he's lost both of his knights, both of his rooks. He has a bishop running around, maybe a couple of pawns, and you're like, get him away. Sit down. You're not going to instantly win the game. You're still on the back foot. Even if you reorganize, you still have to reorganize forces in the middle of an assault where they're already losing.
And that they brought reinforcements with them.
It's like they brought two squadrons. They brought two squadrons. Kigali brings one with her to the Earth HQ. Sorry, the Orb HQ and the Earth Defense HQ, and the other one goes and reinforces a place. This is a nationwide attack.
Actually, no, it's only that one island.
Yeah, sorry. It's a island-wide attack. I think it's important to note that when Shin is deploying in the Destiny is... I think it's important to note that when Shin is deploying in the Destiny... Oh, sorry, I forgot that the name of the thing was Destiny. I just mentioned the show Destiny, so... I think it's important to note that when Shin is deploying in the Destiny is not to capture Jibril, but to destroy Orb, and that is another instance of his rage and trauma consuming him and driving his actions. I think you're confusing hyperbole with intent.
I mean, we're about to find out.
Well, Shin says, if anyone's going to destroy Orb, it's going to be me. But he's also said that many times before. You know, he doesn't actually take any action against it. He is like very angry about what happened last time. And he is probably just going to assault military units on the field. Like, this guy isn't going to go from the guy who saved refugees in the Earth Federation, who he was currently fighting, to going like, haha, there you go, Marsumes, and possibly the civilian building too, you know? I believe he is being flippant, as I normally am. He is not going to go psycho on the citizens of Orb. In terms of how strong the Destiny is, it is stronger than the original Freedom and Justice whether it is stronger than or equal to the Strike Freedom and the Infinite Justice is a different matter. I mean, again, Durandal said it's the strongest. Zaft is the originator of mobile suits. They are also the ones who have been building essentially all of the Gundams that we've seen so far. And
no, the destroyers were built by the Earth Alliance.
See, technically in my head, I consider those to be mobile armors, so I'm not putting that into the Gundam range. I know we had a whole conversation about it, but I'm not including that. I'm not including that into this dialogue. The element that Orb is just... They built one 2 years ago, apparently, if we're taking what you believe to be true.
Well, no. I mean, the ones that were stolen in the first season
were from Zaft.
Were all Orb. No, they were from Orb.
Oh, sorry, you said first season. Yeah, Morgan wrote. But those are first-generation Gundams. They're not going to hold up to Destiny. I'm not including ones from first season. Also, all the ones from first season are destroyed. So, I'm talking about now. Sorry, what I was saying... What was I just saying? You threw me off with that. Because you had me think back to Armory 1 in the beginning where they stole those, which was my point before, that Zaft is making a ton of Gundams. Oh yeah, no, Orb made the one that Kigali just got, which was made 2 years ago, so it should not hold up against literally just made Gundams that are supposed to be stronger than anything out there. Unless, once again, Orb made the most powerful Gundam and then just sat on it for an entire war, which again, I think is evil. Because, your whole idealism about saving people, and literally people are being enslaved across the world by Earth Federation, and you're just like, let it go. Apathy is evil, especially in regards to human suffering. What am I forgetting? Oh, right. Also, the fact that they somehow shipped enough resources to a space factory to build, what was it called? Strike Freedom. Sorry, I'm thrown by the fact that in the intro there's something called Infinite Justice, and I think that's Atherin must get a new one at some point called Infinite Justice. I think it's Infinite Justice. I remember the infinity symbol is part of it.
Yeah.
So, again, the element that you're dealing with one that's being built in subpar conditions by people that aren't the experts in their field, like literally just putting together whatever they can get, is supposed to be stronger than the professionally made leader in the field when it comes to Gundams. Most powerful Gundam. That is like a robot jock scenario, right? Where I built this in my backyard and I'm gonna beat the heavyweight champion of the world. Well, yeah. Well, again, the idea that how you get resources to those people without anybody noticing.
That is a part of it, but I don't think you could have had people who had defected to this factory. They're SAFT officers.
Yeah, what I love is all that setup that we've done this entire season for that to be true.
That's the problem.
Yeah, so I'm going to put into my own headcanon what they must have done based on what's going on versus what they didn't write. Because if they didn't write it, then anything I come up with is just valid until something happens on screen, in which case I'm just going to bitch about what happens on screen because you didn't set anything up.
Mm-hmm.
Seed Season 1 did better with having characters we care about die than Destiny, especially Mu Laflaga, until Destiny retconned his death to bring him back.
I mean, yeah, I agree.
Fun story. This is the last part. I saw Gundam Gwix, whatever you call, today, and I won't spoil anything, but there is at least going to be a second movie coming out. I enjoyed it, but I think I found it weaker than the Gundam 00 movie, and definitely found it weaker than Gundam Seed Freedom. I have a feeling, though, Theta might enjoy it more than the 00 movie.
It's a possibility.
Did you watch the 00 movie? Have you seen Gundam 00? I've probably been asked 100 times. Yeah, wasn't a big fan of the 00 movie. Only specifically, I wasn't a big fan of the characters in 00. Because again, they're basically these characters, but remove 80% of their emotions. Like, they take these characters and then grab an ice pick and shove it just like into the eye a little bit, and then a little bit, and then you'll be done.
Oh, wow.
And then take like 80% of those emotions and then put all of that into two different characters that'll give you a side perspective on anything and have a way more interesting story than any of the main characters in the show. Like, those two characters, people who know who I'm talking about, because I can't remember names off the top of my head, those two characters should have been the show. Like, those two characters who are just, like, experiencing life in a Gundam universe, the ups and the downs. Like, well, we're never going to watch it together, I don't anticipate. So, like, one of them loses an arm during a wedding, not their wedding, a wedding they were going to where their family was at, loses their entire family because of a Gundam explosion. And loses, what hand do you wear a wedding ring on?
The left.
Yeah, so she loses her left hand. And then the boyfriend comes to visit her at the hospital, terrified of what might have happened to her, and then proposes, and she's like, I can't fucking wear the ring. And has a breakdown because she's like, you gotta leave me. You can't be with me anymore. I can't handle this anymore. All of this. And it's like right at the end of the first season. It's like, the things these two go through, being side characters that we keep coming back to, it's like fucking amazing. That's the show. That's the show I keep saying I want a show in the Gundam universe without Gundams. Just like, all right, you have fun today at school. Oh, the school fucking blew up when a Gundam went on it. The shit people have to go through. I don't need the fights. The people drama. That's what I'm here for. All right. Well, I mean, anything else you want to bring up before we get into the episode?
Nope.
All right. Let's go ahead and hop on into it.
But before we get started,
Make sure that you hit the like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
on top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
Unfiltered.
Uncensored.
And uncut.
as well as some early access stuff,
You can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Wait a second. This is happening? The Archangel was not ready to launch by the end of last episode.
Yeah.
So that means that Yuna is just still standing around in that room.
なんだどういうことだよ
もう怪我も治ったでしょここにいると
So just letting him go?
I guess so.
スカイグラスパー戦闘機だけど用意したから行って私はうずみならアスハの子
What a weird way to look around somebody.
国防
Yeah.
聞こえるか
Well, I just mean it feels like... Okay, never mind. We're just
ムーじゃない
showing shit that was happening that we didn't have time to show last episode. Also, I hate that they keep doing this to the characters in the show. Raimi is a strong, independent woman.
発信すればアークエンジェルはザフトと戦うことになるんだ
It's how skirts. It's kind of hard to run when you have high heels and skirts like that, I guess.
アスランさん
ジブリールはまだ見つからないようだななかなか頑固に抵抗されているようだ
シーン
本当にすまないありがとうだがこのドックにいれば大丈夫だからな
でも私
Are you trained to operate the Archangel? No, I don't think you can help here then.
大丈夫ですから私大丈夫ですからだから置いていかないでください
ヘイ
This is awkward.
Yeah.
My possible fiance is
Yeah.
probably on the radio right now.
初手から3機出ることもない俺だけでいいだろ
Again, the fact that Ray was trying to be the one to go out. Pretty hard, too.
だってシーン
Like, he keeps trying to say no.
オーブを撃つなら俺が撃つ
Again, I think he means figuratively. The orb that is out there is going to be destroyed.
アーム解除期間 20% 全身微速
Oh, hey, it's the rocky cliffs that we saw in the opening.
Mhm.
Just without the characters that we saw in the opening there.
カガリ様お気をつけくださいザフトの新手があれは
Don't worry, I'm camouflaged.
進路二丸アークエンジェル全速前進
I mean, Ramis is like my favorite captain in the show. Well,
Mhm.
second to a dead one.
No.
Yeah, Frederick Aids.
I mean, will Kira showed up for this fight as well? I guess.
Yeah, is he heading there?
No, remember he's in space.
Yeah, he just got his new Gundam, and he's going to go head down, isn't he? Wasn't that the whole point of that?
No, I think the whole point was to save Lacus from being shut down. I don't know if he's going to show up as well. Could be.
I mean, he tried to save Kigali from a wedding. You think he's going to not try and save her from a fight?
Yeah. Mhm.
Also, this seed that hasn't happened. 9 episodes left for a wham bam. Thank you, ma'am.
I guess so.
Like I said, the show has so little time left to explain everything that it's either set up or thrown out there.
I think most of it. I think we're going to end up in a cliffhanger, and the movie is the one's going to deal with that. That's a feeling I have.
I doubt it. Remember, there's
Not
a
surprised.
short OVA series that happens at the same time as the show is happening. So maybe they pull them across 7 to try and, or those across 7 Plus or whatever it was called, to try and explain some background content that they didn't put into the show. Well, you remember, this is what the police are up to. This is Basara's background, sort of. You know, all these other little things. I don't know. Again, the indication that season 1 started off not so good and became good, and season 2 started off pretty good and became not so good. And again, you're asking, is Kira going to show up? This episode's name is Freedom and Justice.
いいえ、しかし目標はまだ抑えられないのですか？
ああ、奴らも当初は総崩れだったのだが、だいぶ立て直された。
Again, how easy is it to completely recover from completely falling apart mid-battle?
了解しました。取り舵10、期間原則、着水用意。最前線ではないが油断するな。対空監視現に。
What's benefited by water landing?
こいつに来られたらオーブは。
なんだよこれは。ビームを弾く。
Bullshit.
ならば。
We've never proven effective before, but nope, not this time either. Hope you weren't rooting for those guys. Now time to Darth Maul this shit.
No, you're pretty arrogant.
Well, for some good reason. He did take Kira out the one time. Once again, Archangel crew, time to defend Gibraltar.
やはり沈んでなかったのね。
Yeah. Highly underestimate the cushioning power of water, I guess. What I wouldn't give for it actually to be a meteor. Just like a fucking meteor.
Remember me, bitch? I'm back.
I don't know. In my mind, Kira is the bitch of this one. Quite literally, anybody Kira cares about can't have a one-on-one fight with consequence. Because he'll just show up. I'm the main character, bitch. Sorry, you're not getting me doing it. It's not because I like Kira, just like that Breaking Bad character now. Tell them to open up communications with Zaft so we can end this battle. In the meantime, me, a pacifist, is gonna go fight this guy. So glad we water landed.
Uselessly so.
Yeah, what was the point? We had a spare animation clip of water landing. That'll give us like 5-10 seconds. Well, Talia, time to get bad girled. Oh, what if Moo flies in the flay of another beam again? We saved him just to get him killed the same way.
Yeah.
By the way, in case you forgot all the weapons the Archangel has.
Yeah.
Or the Minerva. I'm of course rooting for the Minerva, even though it's gonna lose. Mostly because I'm on the ship. Arthur is me. Okay.
Okay, so what is he looking at? He's gonna go out and help or what?
Yeah, reverse shots are always funny to consider.
Yeah.
Just a wall there. Oh, Morgan Roach destroyed again. Oh yeah, our new black tri-stars.
Yeah.
Because we're apparently just stealing everything from Universal Century now. Give the other guy an eye problem. Nah, damn it. Glasses and eye patch, like... What? Oh, god damn it. They're from the factory, I forgot. I thought they were gonna be cool characters. My eyes. Ironically, eye patch characters are always cooler than default characters. Yeah, if one of them jumps on the back of another one, then they are literally just the black tri-stars.
They did. That's why I jump over and fire them.
So I saw the zooming from side to side and I got lost in the sauce. Don't I look fine?
Yeah.
Well, I had this fiance once that cheated on me with my best friend and then left me.
I can have this. Yeah.
Yeah, I too miss Mir Atherin. I totally understand the sentiment. By the way, you remember the fight from the very beginning of the season when it was Neo's ship versus them and they were just doing circles around each other?
Yeah.
Cool to be back to that. Kind of funny to think that Kira had to bust his nut first. They're doing perfectly symmetrical attacks. It's not going to work out. Said everyone, every episode, every season.
And failed.
Probably the movie
Except
too.
once. Yeah.
目標はまだ抑えられないの？
I'm gonna guess no.
はい、その報告はまだ。
So here's the thing: the people in the second room clearly dead. I don't know that
Yeah.
Untha is, or whatever the fuck his name is. I missed it all of a sudden. Sorry, the look of somebody who's gonna go instantly to the evil side. Okay, now she's out of her thing.
Yeah.
なんで落ちないんだよ。落ちな。シン、起動しろ。なんで？まだ。命令だ。奴に
What the fuck? How is the Destiny not nuclear powered?
Nuclear powered. Yeah. I know.
Okay, clearly Durandal either lied, or the show is literally making shit weaker just to make Kira better.
小堀さん、小堀さん、かがり。ひどいよこれは。かがり。僕は君の留守を一生懸命。
Also satisfying, but torturing people, I'm not. I'm not for torturing people.
Yeah, it's also just a pointless scene. Like, do that after the fight's over.
なんで？
Yeah.
There's no reason for her to talk to him.
Oh, tell him what his father is. It.
お前だけを悪いとは言わない。
He's at the headquarters. Not the headquarters she went to, but a different one.
己の任を全うできなかった私も十分に悪い。
かがり、そんな。
だがこれはなんだ。
Cool, maybe let's not do this while people are out there fucking dying, while you're in control of this.
同じと思っていたのに。いや、だからそれは。いえ、ジブリールはどこだ。この後に及んでもまだ奴をかばい立てするか。
だから言ったじゃないか。僕は知らないって
言うな。
本当に知らないんだってば。確かにうちにはいたけど今は。
もういい。連れて行け。
そんなかがり。
かぐやの封鎖は完了しているな。
ともかく一刻も早くジブリールを捕まえるんだ。
And maybe, I don't know, talk to the zaft forces that you're trying to capture Jibril.
今はそのことだけを考えろ。
Because what's the plan? Capture him and then say we have him, and if you don't stop attacking, we'll kill him? Like, because it literally can't be they won't believe us if we tell them, because you know what you could do? Try, and then see if it happens.
We're gonna do the battle montage now.
Welcome to Odessa.
これは残酷でしょ。でもキラは私をこれで。
うん。ごまかせるし、一石二鳥じゃない？
でも今のアスラには。
うん。そうも思うけどね。でも何かしたいと思った時、何もできなかったら、それがきっと一番辛くない？キラ。
力はただ力です。
No. Power is the ability to do whatever you want.
Well, to do. How much can you do? It depends on how much power and what type of power you have.
Well, they haven't established a limit. They just said power is power.
Is that Moo?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Of course it is. There was only one opportunity for the Archangel to fail,
余計なことして
and we've established this ahead of
あ
time.
なた
でも俺あのミネルヴァってね嫌いでね大丈夫あんたらは勝てるさなんたって俺は不可能を可能にする男だからな
Okay,
which is what Moo
Kamina.
used to say, right? That's what Moo used to say, right? I have an eye for making, you know.
Yeah, I know, and back when Moose said it, I said, okay, Kamina back then, too.
こちら第2区死の姿はありませんこちら第6区発見がありません第3区異常ありません
Wow. They killed their escorts.
デスティニー再開終了発進可能ですシン
ルナマリアは残るえくそあいつ今度こそ命令だ
To be fair,
散らせばシンが
if Kira existed in the world, too, I'd be pissed.
今のあいつにお前は邪魔
Why?
He's like Captain Jack Harkness.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a writing inconvenience that just can't get killed.
落ち着いてケシお前が挑発に乗って自分を見失ったら
Imagine if there was a terrorist in the real world that somehow had writer's convenience on his side.
を開始します
SEAL Team 6 shows up and he was out for dialysis that day. You know, it's like, fuck! God damn, we can never get this guy.
分かってるよならいいあれは亡霊だ今度こそ沈めるぞああ新アスカデスティニー行きますレイザバレルレジェンド発進するあれは俺たちは本当は何とどう戦わなきゃ君にできること君が望むことそれは君自身が一番よく知っている
なんで
Yeah, damn that Durandal for constantly inspiring me to be a better person. And then trying to kill me.
Thank you. Yeah, and gaslighting me too, but sure.
Yeah,
what the
not
hell.
really gaslighting.
強く引き合ったまま
I mean, he is. I don't know why he's going out wounded, though.
俺は アスランザジャスティス出る
I don't know, because Kira's outnumbered. And I don't know, because
I guess so.
Shin might get confused looking at him.
I don't know.
Was this our ending last time? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm just not heavily invested in this fight.
It's fun fight, but
Is it?
it's too hammered in. It's just so forced.
What's fun about this fight?
I mean, seeing the people fighting and the two main ships that are fighting, they should be fighting against what's his name? Moo. The thing I don't like is about Moo. Oh, I hate this ship, so I'm going to help you out. Okay, and
I mean, that was the whole point of it.
yeah, he's going to get killed again. I
I mean,
guess.
there's literally no resolution to any of the fighting that happened.
Yeah.
Anybody made any gains instantly lost those gains. Shin and Kira was instantly a mirror match, and nothing came of it.
Yeah, I think the problem is that again they're not talking to the people that need to be talking. Right? Just send the message. We're looking for this guy. Help us out.
それは全ての終わりを意味するからがそうして集う思いの強さは同じ
Literally what Atherin did.
ついに立ち上がる夢と悪夢の境界を一人知る者は次回機動戦士ガンダムシードデスティニー反撃の声真実の空へ飛び立てジャスティス
Yeah, and the next time on, when Yuna puts her hands behind his back, just boom, boom, a bunch of people and runs away. Literally what Atherin did when Patrick had him arrested back on the plants, back in season 1.
Yeah. Except I don't think he's gonna run very far.
Who knows? I mean, Atherin only had to run around a corner, and he got away. Again, I don't like this whole Oh, Kigali showed up and she was instantly able to turn it all around. Because, again, I don't know, maybe my mind's going to different places, but the idea is, like, if you were playing, like, StarCraft and then sort of invest your entire fucking base, you know, there's not much you're going to be able to do about that. You were losing and you're still losing. Like, there's no outside orb reinforcements going to come after Kigali's came. And has already indicated Earth Federation's helping here.
Yeah. I don't know.
So outnumbered, losing, you lost a bunch of forces already. You already got lost 2 front lines, and they were pushing in everywhere.
I mean, we don't know how deep orb reserves are, though. They still have to be fighting, you know. So
just not a satisfying thing. I mean, it's satisfying if you're like still cheering for Kigali at this point, despite all the fuck ups made along the way. If you're still like, you know, I've been ignoring essentially everything that's been happening, so I'm still on the people from season 1 side because they've been painted as the heroes, so they clearly must be the heroes if I don't have to think about it too hard. So I'm glad that the bad guys are losing, even though there's only like 3 bad guys. Everybody else is kind of in a gray area.
yeah, the thing is, I have no doubt they're gonna make Durandal a bad guy, and they're gonna have to justify somehow.
I don't think
It's gonna be an asshole.
Again, I'm hoping that Durandal is a patsy.
Yeah, I don't think
that Ray is actually like Rao, and somehow he's tricked Durandal into all of this, and that Durandal is gonna die. Like, I think Durandal's just gonna die, and it's be like, I didn't know, apologizing to Talia. Oh. And then Ray is gonna go with his whatever destroy them all plan, because he still wants to kill everybody like Rao did.
Yeah.
And you know what? Probably, I'm just gonna go shoot for the moon here. Ironic. That maybe Ray is the product of that research, and that Rao would have been alive back then, and that Ray is like a Methuselian. Like, he's gonna live forever, and his plan is, I'm gonna kill everyone and repopulate the Earth myself.
Yeah, with clones.
Yeah, or whatever,
guess.
you know, I'm gonna make a master race or whatever. By myself as the only person left alive.
It sounds good. We'll see what happens.
That'd be something. All right, well, I guess that's it for this episode. So once again, I've been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?